Lights, camera, action. Good afternoon, everyone. It's the Racing Blogger here, previewing the Racing Post Arkle Trophy. It's for the novice chasers running over 2 miles. They're going to jump 13 fences, and the roll of honour is pretty impressive. Altior last year, Duvan in 2016, UDS Undersco in 2015. We had Simonsog in 2013, Sprinter Sakura the Legend in 2012. And then we had the good old years. For those of you that are old enough to remember, Moscow Flyer, Azertiop, World Chief, Flagship Uberalis. They were the special years for me, as I used to go racing with my grandmother a lot, and it was truly a great time for me in my life at that stage. But Nicky Henderson's been a man to follow in this race. He's won it in 1991 with Remittance Man, in 1993 with Travado, again in 2000 with Toychev. And then most recently, he's won it a good few times again with Sprinter Sakura, Simonsig and Altior. So he's had it 6 times over the last, since 1991, 201, 211, the last 26 years. So Nicky's got a great record in the Arkle. Obviously, Willie won it in 2015 and 2016. And the legend Martin Pipe, All Royal and Champlive back in 97 and 98. Let's crack on with the betting. At this stage, there could be 12 runners. Footpad, top price 11 to 8. Petite Mouchoir, top price 4 to 1. Pretty much a 7 to 2 shot though. St Calvados, the horse I've been raving about all year, 11 to 2. Sco Royal for Alan King, 15 to 2. Brain Power, a top price 12s. And then we got all the rags barred out. Northfield RV, 25 to 1. I'm not going to go into any of those because quite frankly, they can't bloody win. Anyway, talking about Footpad, have a quick look at that horse right here, right now. Sensational performance from Footpad. Wow, breathtaking. 8 to 13 on during the week. I absolutely lumped on. I know it's not your kind of price, boys and girls, but it went off 4 to 9, smashed the market. Right, let's kick off with your 11 to 8 Fav Footpad. He's had 3 runs over fences this year, and he's won on all 3 occasions. And quite frankly, he's been bloody impressive on all 3 of those attempts over fences as a novice. Kicked off his campaign on the 12th of November, beating Brillard by 11 lengths. He went straight to the front, he jumped very nimbly, and he quickened clear. And quite frankly, he showed potential there to be a better chaser than over the smaller obstacles, the hurdles. Next time out on Boxing Day, Blogger's birthday, he went and won the Racing Post Novices Chase by hammering Any Second Now, who's a decent kind of 140 horse. Obviously, Death Duty fell in the race, subsequently lame. Jet was 25 lengths back in 3rd. But what Footpad done that day again was jumped beautifully and quickened. And he really kind of announced at this stage that he's definitely going to be a better chaser than hurdler. Furthermore, to add some more evidence to his case, he went and won the Arkle Novices Chase over at the Dublin Racing Festival on the 3rd of February. Now, it looked a 2-horse race, and it turned out to be a 2-horse race. Petite Mouchoir for Henry de Bromhead was back in 2nd, reported to slightly have needed the run after being off the track after having a slight problem. Footpad again, he made all the running, he jumped beautifully, he forced Petite Mouchoir into making mistakes by taking him out of his comfort zone, quickened clear under hands and heels riding. Whatever you can say about Footpad, at this stage, he does everything very easily and very comfortably. He jumps, he quickens, and he travels. And I have to say, he's a very much deserved favourite at the head of the betting, and I think he's going to take the world of beating. You know, he's got Cheltenham form. He was 3rd in the Triumph behind Ivan Gorbatrich, and he was 4th behind Bouvardere in the Champion Hurdle. That's no mean feat for a 6-year-old, who I think is actually beginning to peak, and he's beginning to improve. I think there's so much more to come from this horse. I think he's going to take a lot of stopping. That's Footpad, your 11 to 8 Fav for the Arkle. In my opinion, Footpad's a horse racing certainty, but look what this man's done. Look what he's done. He's chucking money away. 125 and Petite Mouchoir. Yeah, he's got nothing to find. Nothing to find on Champion form. I know it's chasing today, but he's not ready for the race. Is he not? He's had 110 days off. Well, let's have a look. We're going to see. Good luck. Footpad is a certainty. Petite Mouchoir has not jumped the first 2 very well at all. It's only looking better and better for Footpad. Jumping like a buck, Footpad. Go on. Go on, you good thing. They've already gone about 20 lengths clear of the 3rd. Go on, the pad. Go on, you good thing. Oh, Jesus Christ. Go on, Footpad. Go on, you boy. Aye, aye. destroyed the Mouchoir. Great performance. Such a fucking easy winner. Petite Mouchoir. Now, I actually tipped this horse up to win the Arkle at the start of the year. He was one of Blogger's anti-post punts. I think I've got £100 on him at around 12 to 1. So I'm in a good position. He's currently 7 to 2. I could lay some back at around 7 to 2, 4 to 1 and be standing for a good free bet. I'm in a pretty decent position there. Petite Mouchoir this year, he's had 2 runs over fences, winning at Punchestown, beating Brillard, who's a good yardstick. Everyone seems to be beating that horse. And then went on to take on Footpad in the Dublin Racing Festival. Didn't jump very well that day, clattered a few of the fences, and he was a well-beaten second, 5 lengths away from Footpad. He's going to need to buck up his jumping, and he's going to need to, you know, potentially race not so buzzy. He's a bit on his toes, he's a little bit G'd up, he's going to need to settle a bit better. Now, let's not forget, this is a real high-class hurdler. He was 3rd in the champion hurdle behind Bouvardere. He had Footpad back in 4th that day. He was 3 lengths behind PM that day. But I think Footpad's obviously improved for fences, whereas Petite Mouchoir needs to iron out his jumping. He's a double grade 1 winner over hurdles. He beat Footpad again in the Irish champion hurdle by a length, so there isn't a lot between these 2 horses. And he beat Nichols Canyon, who obviously, you know, the late Nichols Canyon was racing over an inadequate trip that day. But he's a decent horse, this Petite Mouchoir. I think whichever way you look at it, he's going to go to Cheltenham. He's going to run a very, very big race. He needs to settle a bit better. He needs to iron out his jumping, but I think Henry de Bromhead is a phenomenal trainer. I rate him on par with Gordon Elliott, Jessica Harrington and Willie Mullins. I think he's truly top draw. And I think whichever way you look at it, it's hard to see PM being out of the top 3. I don't think there's any value left in his price at this stage. Top price 7 to 2, one firm of 4s, but they probably wouldn't lay you a penny. A fifth of the odds, some firms going a quarter of the odds. 7 to 2 could be a dirty each way bet, but most of the value there has been well and truly taken. I do see Petite Mouchoir running a big bet, but I don't think he's in the same gravy over fences as Footpad. Do you agree? Right, I've been ranting and raving about this St Calvados all year. I've been backing him all year. You all know that I smashed him up at Newbury on the 17th of January. I smashed him up on the 10th of February when he hammered Diego de Charmil. He announced himself on the British scene when he won on the 30th of December at Newbury. He won a 2-mile handicap, destroying Remulok. Now, it was only a 4-runner race. The form of that race hasn't really worked out, but, you know, he basically won in a hat canter off a 1-4-3. I went to Newbury primarily to see him that day myself, and what I can tell you about this horse is he's an absolute beast. He's a tank of a horse. He's about 17 hands too, and he's got a real imposing nature around him, imposing size about him. He reminds me slightly of Mike Bite, who walks around with that big strut, and he just knows he's pretty good. I spoke to Harry Whittington that day after he won at Newbury, and, you know, he said to me he's pretty special. You could see the guy looked quite animated, and he looked quite happy about him. And he won me a good few quid that day. I was on at 11 to 8. Next time up, again, it was only a 4-runner race, the Kingmaker. I don't particularly rate the form. John Cliff back in 4th. He's only a handicapper. North Hill Harvey's a horse who's best at the start of a season, hates soft ground. He got hammered. And then again, Diego de Charmel, who was 2nd, he's a good ground horse. So I don't think he really had anything to beat there. He was getting the 5-year-old weight allowance, but he'd done exactly what I kind of predicted he'd do. You know, I backed him at 8 to 11 on. He went off at 9 to 4 on. I had a monkey on him at 8 to 11, and I had a £150 win double that day with Altior, which paid 6 to 4. So it was a good day for me that day. All of his form so far is on soft ground or very soft ground, so he's going to have to prove it if it is good to soft at the Cheltenham, and he's going to get potentially taken on at the head of affairs. You know, you've got Sco Royal, who likes to race pretty handy. You've got St Calvados, who likes to race pretty handy. Footpad and PM. There's going to be a lot of early pace in the race, and you never know. He could get taken off his feet. For me, at this stage, there's no value in his price whatsoever at 11 to 2. He has to prove he can handle Cheltenham. He has to prove he's up to this class. He hasn't beaten anything of any substance yet, beating Remulok, Tree of Liberty and Diego de Charmil. Although doing it impressively, the form, there isn't much, to be honest. I do love St Calvados, and if the Arkle were to come up on genuine soft ground, which it may not, I'm doing this video on the 2nd of March, you know, you'd have to consider him big time. But at this stage for me, who knows? he's an exciting horse, and I'm looking forward to seeing him, because he's the kind of horse, when you see him in the flesh, you realise, wow, this is an absolute monster. It would be amazing for the yard if Harry and Whittington could have a Cheltenham Festival winner, but then you could say that about every yard. But St Calvados, currently third fav at 11-2. Let me know down below, what do you reckon? Is he a dirty each way bet? Do you fancy him to beat Footpad? Are you worried about the ground? I think at this stage he's got a lot to prove. He's never ran against Grade 1 calibre horses like Footpad and PM, and he might just get found out. Right, let's roll on with Sco Royal. He's your fourth favourite for the Arkle, currently 7-1, trained by Alan King. He's rated 161. He's a course and distance winner, and he's been a really lovely novice chaser this year. Alan's won this race twice recently, and in Sco Royal, he may be the second colours for the owners, Simon Menier and Isaac Swade, but he's no back number whatsoever. A 155 rated hurdler. He's ran behind horses like Yamworth, sixth in the champion hurdle, behind Bouvardere, which I think may kind of show the limitations as compared to Petit Mouchoir and Footpad, who had the beating of him that day. But he's gone on to improve as a chaser, hosed up at Warwick twice this year, was second to North Hill Harvey over course and distance, then went to Sandown and ran in the Henry VIII in a really weird race. I mean, Finian's Oscar, I don't know what they've been doing with the horse, campaigning him up and down in trip all year, over hurdles, over fences, completely baffled me, but he bombed out. Brain Power, he never got any cover. Nicky's stressed on a number of occasions how important it is that this horse gets cover. Unseated David Mullins. Nicky was furious about that. I know that. I saw him at Sandown that day and he wasn't a happy bunny. And but basically, Sco Royal, the race fell apart. He took his chance and he won a Grade 1 and won 30 grand. Fair play to the horse, you know. This horse, what he does do is he travels, he sits off at a pace, he's able to quicken, and he's got a nice turn of foot. Now, whether or not he'll be good enough to beat the likes of Footpad, Petit Mouchoir and St Calvados, I don't know. But one thing I do know is he is going to run a very honest race, and if a few of the big boys make a few mistakes, he'll be there picking up the pieces. He's currently a top price. You can get a bit of 15-2, quarter the odds, top three places. I don't think he'll get much shorter than that at this stage. And I think he's probably priced accordingly. But he's a really decent horse, Sco Royal. And Alan King does really well with novice chasers. I wouldn't put you off backing him. Daryl Jacob will be on him. And Ruby will be on Footpad. That's Sco Royal, your fourth favourite. Right, let's crack on with Nicky Henderson's novice chaser here, Brain Power. He's fifth in the betting and he's available to back at 10 plus 2, 12-1. Hashtag quick maths. Shout out to my boy, man's not hot. You know, Brain Power is a really, really lovely, big, strong, powerful horse. But the big question here is his ability to handle Cheltenham. He's ran twice at the track. Last year, finishing 8th behind Bouvardere. He got beaten 30 lengths. He was very disappointing. And he ran behind North Hill Harvey in the Greatwood. Again, you know, he was 12-1. He got beaten 20 lengths. So he's had 2 runs at the track and he's bombed on both occasions. If we take that away, what we do know about Brain Power is he's a high-class hurdler, rated in the region of 160. This year, he hosed up at Kempton first time out. Things didn't go to plan at Sandown. Nicky's stressed that this horse needs to be held up. He needs a fast pace. And at Sandown, basically, everything went wrong, you know. Finian's Oscar was never in the race. There was no pace early doors. He pulled his way to the front and ended up unseating David Mullins when he was 2 lengths down at the last. Nicky was furious that day because he told the jockey, make sure you get cover. But sometimes things go wrong. Next time up, he went on to take on Undersco in the Clarence House, and I couldn't believe he was backed into 3-1 personally, taking on the UDS, a horse with all that experience with ideal conditions. UDS, a little nimble brag here, was available at 4-6 on during the week, 1.66. I helped myself to have 1,200 on there to nick 800 and was never having a nervous moment, to be honest with you. Brain Power, he was still going well. He was only 3 lengths behind when he fell 2 out. I think UDS had everything under control. But it subsequently turned out that he needed his paddock doing. He's had a wind up. And Nicky continues to talk this horse up. And it's not often for Nicky to say how much he loves a horse. I think this horse works very, very well. And I think Nicky thinks he's a really classy chaser. But I do have my doubts about his ability to handle Cheltenham. And that's enough for me to rule him out. One thing that you will guarantee here is he's going to get the fast pace that he craves. He's going to be able to sit in behind the pace. And if he can handle Cheltenham, if those 2 runs were just off days, then he's going to come here with a huge chance. He's still 12 to 1. Let me know down below, what do you think about Brain Power? Are we backing Brain Power, or are we not really interested in Brain Power? For me, due to the 2 runs at Cheltenham, he's off the list. Right, let's get down to the serious business. I'm going to give you my back, I'm going to give you the best each way in the race, and I'm going to give you my lay of the race. Now, you'll know in the Supreme, I've laid Get a Bird, I've backed Kalashnikov. In this race, I'm going to back Footpad. I think his nimble jumping and his ability to track pace, to run at the front of the pace, to sit in behind the pace is going to stand him in very good stead indeed. He's got Cheltenham experience. He's a 6-year-old going places. And, you know, Patrick Mullins was asked what your best chance of the week is. He said Footpad himself. Ruby will be back doing the steering. Ruby will ride Footpad, not Daryl Jacob. I think this horse is going to take some serious stopping. I wouldn't be worried about good ground. He was only beaten a length by Petit Mouchoir over hurdles in a Grade 1, and I think he's subsequently turned out to be a far better chaser than a hurdler. I expect to see Footpad in the winner's enclosure in the Racing Post Arkle on day 1 at about 2:15 p.m. The lay for me will be Petit Mouchoir at around 7 to 2. I think Footpad's comprehensively beaten him already. I think his jumping needs to be sorted out. He can be very buzzy at times, and I think this race could potentially overwhelm Petit Mouchoir. He won't get his own way out in front with Footpad, with St Calvados. For me, Petit Mouchoir is the lay. I think the best each way bet of the race is Sco Royal. We know that he acts around Cheltenham. We know he jumps very well. He's already rated 161. Alan King does particularly well with novice chasers. He's won the Arkle twice. And I think at 7 to 1 with 3 places a quarter the odds, Sco Royal will be the each way bet of the race. But at this stage for me, it's all about Ruby, Ruby, Ruby. I'm hoping all you Get a Bird fans have been sunk in the first and you're chasing your losses in Footpad in the second. Ruby in the winner's enclosure for the Arkle. Up the Irish! Down to the last 3 in the line. Petit Mouchoir, Footpad and St Calvados in a sandwich. They all ping the last. St Calvados, he sticks his head out. But Ruby, he's getting more out of Footpad. Footpad wins the Arkle.